I've seen the internet revolution. I've seen cloud. I've seen mobile. I can tell you that what's coming down the pike with an AI blows away everything I just mentioned wrapped up together. Job descriptions need to change. New jobs need to be invented, but that can't happen too fast and it can't happen too slow. This is going to be an art, and the old way of a board member saying implement AI is just not going to work.
When you're looking at predictiveness of what AI can do, what do you see happening in the next 5 years when it comes to also job displacements, or the next 5 to 10 years maybe?
This technology is moving faster than any technology in human history. That's not an estimation. That's not my gut feeling. That's a fact. I see what is coming down the pike, and it is nothing short of amazing beyond belief. Okay.
Vincent, as I said, I'm very happy to have you on the call. I'm eager to get to know you, because there's a few things that from your little bio that I read online, I saw a similarity, because myself, I started as a young developer at 13 years old and grew into marketing. And from what I read, you have a similar journey. I mean, that's behind you, but you're still that person. Let's leave all the fluff behind. But tell us, like, what's your story? Like, how did you get where you are? What are you doing right now? How did you fell into things? And give me your story. Who's Vincent?
So I started coding at 14 on a Commodore 64. Very, very much into coding and development. It was just a blast. I mean, a 14-year-old kid with a Commodore 64 and a user manual. It's all I did after school every single day and on the weekends. It was an absolute blast. My career took a little bit of a divergence. I worked in the family business in Brooklyn for a few years, which is the largest scrapyard in New York City. I did that for a few years. And then I actually worked in advertising for about 5 years until I got back into computers again in my late 20s. From there, I worked as a programmer, quickly climbed up to CTO in a matter of years. I was then part of an acquisition at a company that I was CTO at. And then I started Founders Workshop about 16 years ago. Founders Workshop is a software development company. It's actually a product development company. I don't like to say software because we build businesses. We have built over 300 software applications in the last 15 years and launched about 150 businesses. I am a serial entrepreneur. I own other businesses. One of my other businesses is Breakthrough Smash Room. It is the largest and most popular rage room in Arizona. And I recently launched the Serpico AI Learning Center. You can tell by the name that it is a place for folks to learn AI. Look, I have been in technology, like I said, since I was 14. I have seen the internet revolution. I've seen the PC revolution. I've seen the internet revolution. I've seen cloud. I've seen mobile. I can tell you that what's coming down the pike with an AI blows away everything I just mentioned wrapped up together. I have never seen anything like this. And what I noticed is that two things: either A, the technology is way overhyped for what it can do today versus what it will be able to do very soon, or B, which is quite often way, way, way underhyped. In other words, a lot of folks out there just really don't know how to use the technology beyond jumping into ChatGPT and maybe entering a prompt. So I'm out there to teach folks because I like the whole light bulb moment. And I spend like 4 to 5 hours every single day on AI learning it because I find it to be really, really fun. And then teaching it is just, I don't know, it's fun. How else can I say it?
So, okay, so that's the history. I'm always myself, like starting at 13 years old. I'm 36 right now. I have the benefit of saying I have 23 years of experience under my belt already at 36, right? And wow. And then similar, starting at 14, there is a certain edge that you have at having already 10 years of experience when people start usually at that point in their career, essentially. You said it yourself. You've seen plenty of shifts, right? You've seen the PC era, the cloud era, you've seen the .com bubble. Now we have the AI bubble. Maybe there's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I can relate when you say that this is the biggest shift I think we've ever seen in the industrial revolution era that we're living in, right? I mean, this could be the rebirth of fire, essentially. What makes you so? What makes Vincent so confident that this is that moment, that this is this potential start of a utopia or potential start of anything is possible? Why?
Well, I mean, AI itself is not new. We all know that. Okay. The first AI was played around with in the early 1950s with the invention or discovery of the perceptron, however you want to look at it. We've been through several different AI winters. So AI is nothing new. The question is, really, why did the world all of a sudden stop and notice ChatGPT in November of 22 and sign up 100 million users in a month? Why now? Why not in 2018 or 2016? So before the world was aware of ChatGPT and large language models, AI was still very, very powerful in running the vast majority of backend processes on the internet. Netflix, Amazon, Meta, they all use AI. It's and not just classical AI, but neural net AI, and very, very powerful. In fact, a lot of the AI running out there is not generative AI. It is the classical neural nets. So why all of a sudden? Well, how are we doing this conversation today, Sean? We're doing it through talking to each other, right? When we're not drawing pictures or using, acting it out or anything, we're talking. And you said you're starting to read more often, right? Okay, well, I'm assuming you're reading books with words in it, right? Not just pictures, right? Okay, yeah. And that little voice in your head all day long, I'm assuming it speaks to you, right? In other words, everything is language. Okay. We build civilizations with language. We think all day in language. We share in language. We learn in language. Literally everything we do is in language. And now we've invented a machine that has mastered language better than humans. So when you say what is possible with AI, just large language models, I would say to you, what is possible with language? What do you think we can do with language, Sean? Well, we can build civilizations. So when a machine that understands language and the nuances of language better than humans do, well, everything starts opening up. And we can talk about everything that is opening up because of that.
Yeah, I mean, as we're recording this right now on the 5th of February, this podcast will be out a week later, but there's this new revolution of something. It used to be called Claudebot, then Moltbot. Now it's called OpenClaw. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this with the situation that's happening, but
yeah, I'm running.
Maybe you can tell us a little bit about what it is, and because it feels like now we just amped up things a little bit more, and autonomy and language is getting. I mean, what can we do with language? I think OpenClaw is now defining even a new space, essentially.
Well, yeah, and that actually started with the release of DeepSeek in January of 2025. If you remember the release of DeepSeek, what blew everybody away was the thinking in it. It was not just the thinking, but the exposed thinking. In other words, you can see how it thinks. And then after that, if you remember, entire cascades of companies went to thinking models and exposed the
everybody.
Yeah, right, exactly. And what everybody learned was that when you have these models think internally, they use language to go ahead and plan out the response. But when they're also attached to, I'm going to call them agents, and we can talk about agents in a minute, that thinking then spawns into agents that agents can spin up, do work, come back, and then the language model can continue its internal thinking about the process of what happened. Now, some of the, let me just stop right there before I get really, really geeky on this. I'll just kind of stop there because I answered your question before I go into a tangent.
I don't think anybody would. I think a lot of people like us, like this type of stuff, and me myself. I mean, if we can go as deep as we want. I think that and everything that I've seen right now, and there's the hype and there's the anti-hype. Okay, Amazon laid off X amount of people in Salesforce laid off X amount of people in their customer service. Now they're like, hey, it's not working as great as it could. LLMs are non-deterministic. That means it's difficult to do an if-else statement like you could do in deterministic code, essentially, which is breaking things up. We have agents making it possible to then validate things. Now we see agents controlling agents and validating them. And at the end of the day, we're seeing also a lot of soup, like a lot of stuff that's like, okay, well, we did a lot of stuff, but practical usability, no, we can still cover X amount of bases. So let me be the doomsday guy. I'm like, AI, or not the doomsday, like, because we're not nuclear war. Let me be the guy that says AI is not all it's supposed to be. Let me defend that argument and say, I've seen AI be implemented in companies, and a lot of companies are saying, hey, yeah, we have AI, but I don't know what to do with it, right? That's one side. The other side is, well, AI, we have it, but we just can't trust it. Like, how would you answer those people with the hype that AI also have and has, and the this is the second coming, essentially? So how do we defend that, and how do we make people believers on that side?
So you said one issue you hear a lot is trust, and the second one was what?
So trust in the output, I would say, is definitely one of them. And the other one is we've implemented it, now we don't know what to do with it. We thought we were told to get AI, we have AI, but everything is still working the same. I hear a lot of companies also saying this.
Yeah. And then the third one is the reports about, hey, AI is not everything it's cracked up to be, and this and that and that and this, right?
Yeah. I mean, with that, I would even say there was this interview with Dario Amodei and the guy from Gemini, I forgot his name for a second, Demis Hassabis. And, there was the prediction, AGI is going to be there in 2 years. This was 2 years back, right? And now it's, okay, we're looking at 28, we're looking at 30. So I love to have a healthy discussion on what's possible, what's not, what's realistic. And let's give people actual things they can work with today. Since, you're starting an initiative on AI learning and teaching. So it's like, hey, let's have the teacher teach here. So I'd love to pick your brain.
So let's talk about a lot of that. So first of all, there is always going to be, I don't want to say naysayers, let's just say pessimists. It happens all the time. .com was probably the best recent example. When I say recent, we're still talking about 26 years ago. 26 years ago, but it's the best recent example. And, essentially when the internet came out, folks were like, okay, this is a fad. Look, I can't even it takes me 3 minutes to download an image. And when my mom picks up the phone, everything cuts off. Well, based on that, it is logical to say that the internet is going nowhere. So I'm going to get out there and tell everyone the internet's going nowhere. Just look at it. Paul Krugman, the Nobel Prize winning economist, predicted in 1999 by 2010, it'll be evident that the internet has contributed no more to the GDP than the fax machine. So, I mean, okay. Yeah, right, exactly.
Economists, let's not talk about them. Yeah.
yeah, right, exactly. But anyway, the point is that it's understandable that most people don't have vision. Okay. It's understandable because what happens is there's this thing called presentism where you go ahead and you extrapolate the future based on the present. A really good example of presentism is like look at those drawings or cartoons in the 1950s of what the world would be like in 50 years. They had flying Buicks. You know what I mean? Because that's all they knew. That was a flying car. Take a Buick and put 2 jets on it. So it's presentism. So, when you look at the internet back in 1999, 2000, there was the promise that you're going to be streaming movies one day. Streaming movies? Take me 3 minutes to download an image. There's no way I'm streaming movies. You're out of your mind. Well, there was no .com bubble. There was an economic bubble and there was an overbuilding bubble, but there was certainly no technology bubble. The .com bubble wiped out 95% of the companies who were in in the internet at the time, brand new internet companies, and it laid the infrastructure for what the internet was about to
Yeah,
become.
and you could say, I mean, if you look at the other side, the economies that have been created simply by the internet being there, the companies, the industries, everything else. I mean, it's GDPs of countries have doubled and tripled since. So, but
would you
because of it,
consider the internet a greater contributor to GDP than the fax machine?
well, that's a tough question. I'm going to say yes, reservedly, but yeah, I'll say yes. Yeah.
The bottom line is that it's really, really hard to see, what's coming out. But and right now there has been a lot of hype with AI. There's no doubt about it. However, I do feel that the future uses of AI are way, way underhyped. So let's kind of go back to where we were before with DeepSeek. When DeepSeek came out, everybody saw the thinking mode and started utilizing thinking modes everywhere. Well, the next thing that thinking mode does is it allows agentic planning. So if you just have thinking mode in a large language model with no agent plugins whatsoever, that thinking mode is going to get you a much, much better answer because it's going to review its own output before providing output to you. Now you start attaching agents to it. What happens is you get to a point where it thinks, it plans, it executes an agent, then it reviews its own work, makes adjustments based on that, makes the next plan, and continues doing that. Probably the best example of a large language model just right off the shelf that does that, it's a new Kimi 2. So Kimi 2.5 released a agent swarm and an agent mode about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And it can go ahead and do up to 100 separate tool calls because it created an architecture and a pattern where it calls a tool, it reviews what it did, it criticizes what it did, makes changes, and then calls the next tool. So, and we're seeing a lot of that, mostly in labs, where the agents are executing call after call after call for hours and hours and hours, utilizing language itself in order to keep it on rails.
I hear you. I think I love how you said presentism, and I think a lot of people have that because a lot of people see, okay, well, listen, I can talk to ChatGPT, but how is it going to do my job, right? At the same time, we're being told to maybe also fear our job. I feel like one of the things coming back to companies implementing AI is we've implemented it and it doesn't add any value yet. So this is, and I compare this to a person starting an activity. So let's say you want to go to the gym, right? The first day going to the gym, you're like, okay, well, I went to the gym, check. Right now you're going to do it for 5 weeks and you're like, well, I don't see any changes, right? Because you went one time a week, for example. You might have to go longer. The thing what I'm feeling with AI is people have this moment of, yes, we need to have this. And then, okay, we brought it, we have it. That doesn't mean it's implemented the right way, by the way. It just means they have it, right? But I'm seeing people saying, okay, we've implemented AI. We don't see the productivity gains that were foretold. We don't see the economic benefits as in, okay, we can reduce workers, for example. We feel like we have AI that can help us do things, but we still have to do a lot of work ourselves. So this becomes now a situation where companies in certain cases become a little bit reserved and they become reserved on, hey, do we invest more in this? Or do we feel like this was a hype we bought into and it might not change? And I agree with the presentism argument. The question is, for those companies, like, do you feel like there's a reason why it went that way? Is it maybe structure, setup? Hey, maybe you went too fast and too bold, which we see a lot of times as well. Is it, is AI just not ready enough to actually become economically viable in a company right now? Any thoughts on those things?
Yeah. So there's a few things. First of all, when I talk to enterprise decision makers, usually the story is the same over and over again. Hey, Vincent, we need to implement AI. Okay. Um, I asked them, do you have an implementation strategy or something in particular? No, but we were told by the board we have to implement AI. And that's all they said. And so we have to implement AI. Okay, great. And then usually what happens is the implementation is very hodgepodge. It's kind of like, you buy a house that was built in 1850, and then you go ahead and you put plumbing in and you put an air conditioning system in. And basically you just have like a messed up looking house that looks like it doesn't accommodate plumbing or air conditioning, when probably what you should have done was rebuilt the house. Now, there's a very, very uncomfortable truth that we need to talk about. AI right now can go ahead and alleviate a lot of tasks. As far as taking jobs away, I really want to talk about that. Okay. The jobs it's taken away are basically useless jobs that are task-based jobs and not jobs of meaning. But we'll talk about that in a little while. But what I was talking about was the implementation. And it's like, hey, we need to implement AI. Okay, well, we can implement some task-based AI right now. Like, for instance, we're doing this video over here, and after the video, Sean is going to go ahead and blur my background because I got a messy office over here already. Now, Sean is going to go ahead and use AI for that. And that's not taking away his job. It's taking away a task, and it's going to give him more opportunity to interview other guests instead of spending the time trying to blur this or not be able to do it at all. So that's a net win. But those are just small examples. Where the real power of AI comes in is not so much through automation, because we're not trying to automate everything away. We're instead trying to agentify a whole bunch of stuff. And when you agentify a whole bunch of stuff, what happens is processes change. Okay. So, a board member says, implement AI. Just like I told you to implement CRMs. Well, it's easy to implement the CRM. It really is, because it fits into everything that you're already doing. Okay. The thing about the AI is that, yes, it can take away some tasks. And I've seen it take away tasks in many different companies and save on payroll and efficiency and all of that. But the real seismic change is when you have to start changing processes. And that's the uncomfortable truth right now, is that many, many, many businesses are going to have to whole scale change processes and the way that they do things. Some companies will not be able to catch up that quickly because they're slow moving, bureaucratic, or whatever. Other companies might move a little bit too quickly. So there is this sweet spot of understanding that whole scale processes do need to change. Job descriptions need to change. New jobs need to be invented, but that can't happen too fast and it can't happen too slow. This is going to be an art, and the old way of a board member saying implement AI is just not going to work.
Well, yeah, I think you broke it down amazingly. I love the fact where you're saying, AI, because I think the hype made people believe that AI could actually take over a person's job, right? So what's the initiative? The initiative, hey, how can we implement AI to either reduce cost, increase productivity, but in a way that it could take away not just tasks, but responsibilities, essentially. And I think what you're identifying here, where people should be watching out, is if you're trying to implement AI, don't do it in the form of trying to take away responsibilities from people, but try to take away individual tasks or tasks that are easily chainable to each other because they are in a process, essentially, right? Because you could create an agent that takes away one task, another one, and they still communicate together in harmony to create the final result. And this is possible in, let's say you're doing audits on something, right? Whether it's a tax audit, whether it's a website audit from an SEO standpoint, for example, there's going to be an option where you can create an agent that does one specific thing, checks it out, passes it on to the other, and eventually you have your report agent that orchestrates the result, right? So we're seeing, and by the way, this is nothing new. And I don't mean to belittle what you're saying, but I mean it from the sense of any company that wants to grow and wants to have, accountability in their billability, for example, or structure so they can onboard people easily, need to have SOPs. They need to have standard operating procedures, right? So I think, as you mentioned, some companies that will be able to embrace AI better. And I think it's those that have SOPs. I think it's those that already have procedures and processes in place that can then easily be picked up by AI and implemented that way. But it's not the holy grail. It's like, hey, just figure it out, essentially.
That's a really, really good first step. Yeah, it's an absolutely good first step. And, if, first of all, a lot of companies do not have the SOPs together. But let's say,
Yeah.
But let's say you're listening and watching right now, and you do have your SOPs into place. Well, one thing you can do on your own right now is just drag and drop those SOPs rather, into Claude. Tell Claude to go ahead and create a visual workflow and artifacts based on your SOPs, and watch Claude literally take your SOPs, which is probably 5, 6, 7 pages of do this first, do this, and watch it create a beautiful visual workflow inside of Mermaid using that. Okay. Then you'll go ahead and take that workflow and then just ask Claude, where can I go ahead and inject AI to go ahead and automate some of these tasks? Now that's a first step. That's not a final step. I'll make that really, really clear. However, if you just do that, you're going to see a hell of a lot of insights on where you can do that. In fact, why don't you go ahead and just do that? And then if you have an AI person that you work with who implements stuff, show that to him and say, here's what Claude said. And you've went ahead and you've essentially done what KPMG will charge you $50,000 to do.
I love that. It brings me to one thing. I'm just it reminds me of one thing what you just said, and it is, AI will make those that are experts in their fields 10 times better, and it'll make people that are, let's call them juniors, 2 to 3 times better or more efficient than what they are right now. Meaning, AI is a productivity boost, right? We just discussed how companies can integrate AI. And I think the agentic manner will make it already possible for people to become more productive, because by AI taking over certain tasks, they can now do more, or they can now orchestrate more at the same time. So their output in general could be more. Like if that's the company you're running, like your output, well, that's how you implement AI, people. But from a human perspective, right? And now we're talking about, the human versus, my machine symbiosis, essentially. AI on an individual front, if you're on a career path, can also immensely help you. And then, to be honest, that's where I've seen the biggest adoption. It's individuals making themselves better and creating a bigger distance between them and those that aren't picking it up, essentially. Is there a reason why you shouldn't use AI, or is it like, nah, I think that's too much of an open book. Let me ask you a different question. What do you see happen over the next 5 years if, as an individual, you don't pick up AI inside of your job?
Alrighty, so we're talking just general jobs. We're not talking, and for those who are listening, we're not talking about that super, super niche job. And you say, oh, what about this one? That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about just general, what happens if you don't pick up AI? Okay. A couple of things. First of all, what's going to happen is many, many AI first tools will be coming out. Okay. What you're going to see is a drop off of traditional software patching AI onto their software, and you're going to see more of a rise of AI first applications. And if you don't do anything to learn AI, you'll start being, trained on how to use those applications. You'll start to be trained on how to use AI in your work, and you'll basically get just-in-time training. You might not understand how the AI works. You might not be able to create your own personal productivity gains, because you're relying on third-party systems to do all the work. But generally, you'll probably still be in the workforce among the lower paid. But you'll probably still be in the workforce, because there's going to be a huge need for folks to basically run these machines, to basically be agent babysitters and maybe agent assistant managers. So there's still going to be a lot of people who are going to get jobs there. Now, for those who really understand how to use AI, the personal productivity gains, whether that's personal for work, or for whatever, are going to be literally off the charts. I don't know where to start because there's just so much gain. So I'll just start with literally just one, and then we can talk about another 100 if you want. Let's look at Notebook LM. Okay. Usually when I bring up Notebook LM, most people say they've never heard of it before. So what Notebook LM does, among many other things, is that it creates podcasts. All righty. It creates very, very engaging, lively podcasts that explain essentially any subject matter you want, or creates a debate between two people on any subject matter you want. So almost every single day, I will create a Notebook LM podcast on very thick AI data that I need to learn. Instead of having to read 100 pages over several hours, I'll create the podcast and listen to it for 30 minutes while doing the dishes or something like that. And that gives me an amazing boost over those who are not doing it and helps me do accelerated learning. So that is just literally one of many, many, many examples. So basically what's going to happen is one of two things. If you don't want to learn AI, if you feel it's too onerous, if you feel it's too much of a seismic shift for what you're doing, don't worry about it. You'll be carried along with everybody else. Most likely your salaries will go down and all that kind of stuff, but it's okay. Don't worry about it. For those of you who really, really want to stay a step ahead, what you'll notice is that the productivity gains you get personally and as well as work are going to be literally off the charts. Now, AI is a completely new beast. Okay. Like I said, I've been programming for a really, really long time, longer than probably most of you who are on listening have been alive. And the integration of AI is unlike any other integration I've ever seen. Without being a technologist, it's difficult to understand, but I can tell you that the way AI works, it's not a deterministic software where when I push a button, I know exactly what's going to happen. It doesn't work like that. It works different than that. It's non-deterministic. And because of that, it requires a lot of different processes. One of the things you've heard very often is that programmers are becoming agent monitors. Well, they are. They're absolutely becoming agent monitors. I mean, if you remember, what was it, yesterday, the day before, Claude code went down for about maybe 20 or 30 minutes before Claude put a patch up. And X flooded with messages basically saying Claude code's down, can't work. Now, what does that mean? That means developers have gotten so used to Claude code, and if you haven't developed using Claude code or Codex, something like that, it's not traditional development. It's far, far from it. It's voice first, text first development, where you're literally managing various agents all doing coding, and you're managing it. It's a paradigm shift unlike any paradigm shift I've ever seen in development, and it's causing identity crisis with a lot of developers. But it is the sign of things to come in all businesses. So no, you don't have to work. You don't have to learn AI if you don't want to, but it will impact you, no doubt about it. Now, you might not care about that. And if you don't, I'm not here to preach you about that. Do whatever you feel is good for you. However, if you are looking to stay ahead of the curve, whether personally or in work, I would definitely start learning these tools and start learning them pretty quickly.
I mean, we said we were going to talk about it later. I think the moment is right now. You said something very interesting. Those that don't learn AI will still be part of the workforce because we're going to need them to manage all of those little agents that we build and manage the horde, essentially. We're going to need people. This brings me to a point where we could have robots like Optimus, for example, from Tesla, but we need somebody to, at the end of the day, still mechanic them or tell them what to do or not. My thinking is...
Yeah, the robots are 10 to 15 years out.
But the idea in general is like, at some point, things get displaced or people could get displaced. You're saying these people in the next 5 years are going to be... We're going to need them. So when you're looking at predictiveness of what AI can do, what do you see happening in the next 5 years when it comes to also job displacements, or the next 5 to 10 years, maybe even?
Okay. So I think that it's extremely, extremely difficult and irresponsible to say what's going to happen in 10 years. Okay. I really do. And the reason why I say that is that this technology is moving faster than any technology in human history. That's not an estimation. That's not my gut feeling. That's a fact. Um, I see what is coming down the pike, and it is nothing short of fucking amazing beyond belief. Okay.
But wait, is it going to be amazing for everybody though?
It depends how you adopt it.
I think that's the question, right? Because if I lose my job and I get displaced by a robot or by a machine, it's not going to be great for me, unless we get a certain a utopia where everybody gets to live for free. I mean, this is what people are preaching as well.
The whole utopia thing is it's not even worth the discussion, right? It just doesn't really matter, okay? Because it's not reality right now. We have to just talk about what reality is right now. So, every technology has every technology displaces people. Okay. It's a matter of how you go ahead and adapt to that technology. You could say that, the very first technology, us harnessing fire, displaced Grog, whose job was to go out hunting for fire, after lightning storms. Now, all of a sudden, we learned how to harness fire and he's out of a job. Well, what does he do? Well, we have to retrain him on how to make fire, but he doesn't want to learn how to make fire. He likes going out looking for fire. So we find somebody else who can make the fire instead. So it's yes, there are going to be folks who are going to be displaced. My point is this: right now, in the next 5 years or so, maybe even 10 years, there's going to be seismic changes in what AI does. I have no idea what it's going to look like in 5 years. It'd be irresponsible for me to say that because of how fast this is moving. What I can say is that as this technology is coming full bore for every spot, not for your job, not for my job, but in every part of society in general, it makes total sense to understand how it works and how it's going to implement your life. So like I said before, you don't have to do a thing, but if you don't, you're going to be washed away in the direction that everything is going. If you do understand how these work, you don't have to understand how neural nets work. Just understand generally how these AI works, how these AI work and what they're capable of. You will be able to manage the change. And this change is not just for employees. This changes for managers. This changes for business owners. This changes for everybody, okay? It doesn't just apply to you and your job. It applies to literally everybody. Understanding what's coming down the pike is the best knowledge that is the best defense you can take in a world that will be changing dramatically.
I think first, I think you're absolutely right. It's difficult to predict. I want to know though. I really want to know. I'm so curious about what's going to happen. I mean, look, the Jetsons said we were going to have flying cars by 2020 or something, or whatever date it was. Well, we don't have them, right? And I don't think it's as practical as people maybe thought it would be. I'm curious to see what's going to happen in the next 5 or 10 years. I really am. I'm curious to see what it's going to do.
If you want to see what's going, if you want to see where things are headed, stop paying attention to LLMs and start paying attention to world models.
True. Agree. Moving towards the future and towards, looking at the present and preparing for the future. I'm assuming here, but I think that's why you started the AI Learning Center. Or could you tell me a bit about that and what its initiative is, what you're trying to achieve?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I spend like 4 or 5 hours every single day learning AI, 7 days a week. It's what it's what I do, and it's what I do for the last several years, and it has dramatically changed literally everything in my life. And for those who use it, it has changed literally everything on a personal level and on a business level. I have done speaking events and I've done workshops on this, but it was more folks just reaching out to me. Vincent, can you come and do a speaking event in England? Vincent, can you do this workshop in California? And sure. And then I decided, you know what? I'm getting asked to do this a lot. I enjoy it so freaking much. I'm going to start the Serpico AI Learning Center. So I partnered up with CEI, the Center for Entrepreneurial Innovation here in Phoenix, Arizona. And we are launching it right now. There will be 2 to 3 sessions every single day, 7 days a week on how to use AI. Like, for instance, how to use AI for marketing, or how to use AI to create video generation for social media ads, things like that. We also are doing custom workshops and custom speaking events for enterprises. And we do provide one-on-one AI consulting, as well as discoveries on how to fit AI into your business. So I launched it mostly because it's like I'm in Disneyland all day long with this stuff, man. It's just really fun. And people are learning. It's amazing. I had somebody come to me, said to me, Vincent, I have when I first started coming to your sessions about 6 months ago. By the way, I do a free AI AMA every single Wednesday at
Nice.
at the Learning Center. Yeah. I had somebody tell me about 6 months ago when I was doing this. She came to me and she goes, my advertising agency was pretty much bankrupt, and I was looking at going out of business. Then I learned some of the stuff that you taught me with AI, and now I need to hire employees because I'm so busy. And she has completely turned her business around by integrating AI. She's a one-person company, and she's doing phenomenally well. Everybody can see these results. This is not hype. I'll say it, but you'll just see it yourself over the next few years how it happens.
Can you tell me, because I listen, if anybody's listening or watching this, the only thing they're thinking, how did she do that? So, and we don't need the intricate details, but what are the cliff notes? Like, why was AI so successful for her? In what way?
Yeah, so for her, it was several things. First of all, while everyone is out there talking SEO, she's talking about GEO, AEO, and AIO, and all of the SEO for AI. And she's been helping companies integrate that. 2 of her clients said that they got referrals from ChatGPT, literally because of the work, the SEO work, the AI work that she did. They got referrals from ChatGPT. And that has helped skyrocket her business by implementing that. Number 2 is she got to be incredibly good at video generation. So essentially, her company's actually doing so well, she's actually getting rid of some of her offerings. She doesn't have the time for it, and only focusing on the AIO and video and blog generation, all using AI, 100% using AI.
So you could say that the 2 things I'm hearing is, one, is leaning more into the transition that's happening, right? From a branding and messaging perspective, but also productized service, right? So instead of saying, hey, just SEO, we're going to focus specifically on the new forefront, because that's where a lot of companies are trying to also prepare themselves for. And at the same time, you're saying by implementing AI in the right way inside of a company, by making it, that's the what's it called? The symbiosis, I call it, between the humans and the machines, essentially. By having that, she was able to get better output, and in terms of quality, but also in quantity, is what we're saying as well.
Yeah.
That's
yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's where AI shines, right? That's how we got to use it right now. I mean, and
that's where AI shines, Sean. Let me jump in there real quick. You said it really good. Before generative AI, there was the notion of speed, price, quality, pick 2, right?
Yeah.
You've heard that over and over and over again. You can't have all 3. You have speed, you have good price, or good quality. You can't have all 3. Now here's AI. You get all 3. You get all 3 for the first time in history. All right. Look, hey, Sean, I want to hire you as a developer. Okay. I need everything within 1 week. I want to pay you hardly anything, and I want it to be great quality. What are you going to tell me?
Forget about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I know. Without using it, without cursing at me.
Exactly.
Right? But now you can. Now you can get speed, quality, and price, all 3 with AI. by a technology that understands language, the very thing that makes us human.
I think there's one thing that still is very needed in that foundation for a success recipe, and that's a great operator. There needs to be an individual because, you know, um, there's anybody, I would say anybody right now can create a website. And I think this was possible for the last 10 years. Just WordPress, a little bit of YouTube, and you could create a website. But making it actually good UX, good experience takes somebody that's curious and that's willing to dive deeper than anybody else, right? That somebody that feels responsibility on, hey, I have to deliver quality. Because I could ask AI to create an ad, she could ask AI to create an ad, and I would bet her ad's going to be 10 times better than mine because A, experience, right? She's done it more times. She's been through that cycle. B, that's her passion, not mine, right? So I would say that's still just for everybody thinking, hey, if I want to get a great price, a great product, and quality, let me put AI on it. No, it's not going to work immediately like that. I think you still need a great operator to make things happen. And
Well, let's talk about what it takes to make a great operator. You know, you've heard the expression that the most popular programming language today is English. And for those of you who haven't heard that, the idea behind it is that vibe coding, or whatever you want to call it, I think the term vibe coding is falling out of favor, but basically speaking applications into existence earned the nickname that English is now the hottest programming language. And what does it take to be a really, really good prompter? The exact same skills as it takes to be a really, really good manager. I mean, literally the exact same skills. A good manager can envision a goal and explain the goal. A good prompter can envision a goal and explain the goal. A good manager gives a direction in bite-sized pieces and then gives feedback in bite-sized pieces. A good prompter gives prompts in bite-sized pieces, then gives feedback in bite-sized pieces. A good manager knows when to get a second opinion and when to go ahead and get a review of what somebody else did. A good prompter knows how to do that. So really, the classical skills of articulation and critical thinking are going to be the winning ingredients for operators of AI. So, I mean, this is very, very disheartening for those who have put years and years and years into their trade. And I get that. It is disheartening. I have been a programmer, essentially my entire life. And I realize that my trade is pretty much open to anybody in the world. I can hide my head in the sand and cry about it, or I could adapt. And adapting sounds like a much, much better solution. So, being a good using AI is not like a Google search. Okay, it's going to force folks to become good critical thinkers. It's going to force folks to become a lot more articulate, or to hire the people to do it. Maybe 2 years from now or sooner, when you need somebody to crank out applications and vibe code, it might not be a coder you hire, but it might be a university professor or somebody like that who's articulate, or an author, somebody who writes books but is very articulate. So, the skills that the underdogs have today are going to be the ones that are going to make them top of the heap tomorrow. You have to understand that the order is changing. It's changing a lot. To those who know how to be really good managers, even if you've never been a manager in your life because you've never been given the opportunity, or you're too young, or this or that or whatever, if you have those skills, you have the skills to be among the top AI users in the world. Understand that. It doesn't require technical skills. It requires skills of critical thinking and articulation.
You've mentioned previous in the conversation that if you want to implement AI in the business, take your SOPs, break them down, or feed them to Claude, ask it to make a model, a flowchart, essentially. Ask it where it could implement AI. Now we're talking about the person, right? We're not talking about the business. We're talking now about the person. We're saying, okay, Vincent, I just listened to you, and you inspired me, because I think what you just said could inspire a lot of people. How do they start? Like, what's your advice on them? Okay, I'd like to see how I can implement AI better, because everybody's using ChatGPT in their professional life or something like it. I would assume Perplexity or Gemini, whatever. I think a lot of people in corporate are using it. Let's talk about people in corporate right now that have a desk job, work behind a computer, and they want to get better, or they want to see how they can indeed improve their job or their efficiency or their way of working with AI to make it better, right? To become more of an orchestrator or become a better operator, essentially. Maybe they don't feel the confidence because, yes, they might be good managers, but AI still is very, very strange to them. They don't know how to install things on a computer. So how would you lead them?
Okay. So here's what I would suggest. Um, Learn how to, I say learn because it's a process, but learn how to think in AI. Okay. And when I say think in AI, I mean, think about literally throughout your day, how can I use AI for this? Alrighty. You might say to yourself, well, there's really no reason for AI for this at all. You can start asking AI, how can I use AI right now in my situation? And believe me, no matter where you are and what you're doing, you can start playing with AI and see and start getting ideas of what to do. For instance, when you're in a restaurant, right? If you're a ChatGPT user and you have memory turned on and it knows everything about you, take a picture of the menu and say to ChatGPT, based on everything you know about me, what should I order? You know, or you're in a restaurant and you're looking at a couple of your fancy French restaurant. You don't know what these things are. Take a couple of pictures of the menu. Go ahead and circle in your image, upload it to Nano Banana and Gemini and say, generate images of what this dish might look like for me. This is all thinking in AI. This is using AI for literally everything. So you're at work and you're about to do something at work. Well, we talked about how to upload the processes in Claude and then go ahead and have it reviewed. But you can literally ask AI, here's what I do. What can I do to improve this? Now, that'll get you, washing around a little bit and trying to figure stuff out. If you want to get more pointed, of course, reach out to me. I don't want to make this a sales pitch. I absolutely hate hard sales beyond belief. But if you do want a leg up, just reach out to me. If you don't want to reach out to me, the best thing to do is seriously use it all day for everything you possibly can. A lot of the times it won't be applicable, but that's okay. You'll get an idea of how to use it, how not to use it. And think about prompting. Really, prompting is extremely, extremely important. This is not a Google search. This is working with an employee and treating it like an employee, directing it like an employee.
Yeah, very specific, very specific. The more specific and the more you point it, the better the results are usually. I absolutely love the direction that you just gave. And I think I love the fact of when you said have AI pick your restaurant meal, I was like, I'm fighting in between. There's a war happening. Part of me is like, that's a good idea. Well, part of me is like, no, because I would like my own autonomy. I don't want to have the machines decide what I do. But then the other part of me is like, it's a solid advice. And I've rationalized it in a way that if you don't go overboard on how you can implement AI, or if you don't think about those things, you might miss the one part where it could actually have meaning. So you have to try things. You have to get uncomfortable. You have to get to a position where you maybe overuse it, but you'll find that sweet spot where AI could definitely be of value to you as an individual by pushing yourself towards it. And I think that's the thing, right? You have to dive into the deep and try to, just try to make it essentially. Try to swim and see what works.
Yeah, right. Exactly right, Sean. Yeah.
I love that.
Just start using it. Really, just start using it. Don't be scared of it.
Don't be scared.
Well, unless you're using OpenClaw, but we're not talking.
I think there's a lot of people really, really scared of what AI can do, and I think a lot of people are also afraid to find out that it can do things that it can do, and then feel like, hey, what is my meaning in this company or my meaning in life if a machine can simply pick up what I'm doing, right? And I think those types of existential questions and crises, we're going to have more of those. But I feel the more you confront them, the more you'll be prepared for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think what it comes down to is task-based versus meaning-based. Okay. For instance, let's look at a lawyer. What does a lawyer do? What does a lawyer do? A lawyer resolves problems between people. That's it, right? It could be a criminal lawyer that's certainly resolving a problem between people. Could be a business lawyer resolving problems between people. Could be a divorce attorney resolving problems between people. But that's what it does. That's what lawyers do. Then lawyers got popular in the United States and they just couldn't do all this research themselves and document creation. So they hired paralegals. Nobody ever said that, hey, the paralegals is going to be an end to the lawyer field. Well, no, nobody ever said that because paralegals help with document research and preparing documents so that lawyers can do more of what they do, lawyering. Okay, now you got Harvey AI, and Harvey AI will help paralegals tremendously in the research and document department. So does that mean it's at the end of lawyers because Harvey AI can create legal documents? No, I can create a legal document too. All righty. But I'm certainly not a lawyer. And I'm not going to use AI to go ahead and resolve an issue I have if I had a lawsuit. I want a human to do that. I want a human to understand the problem, talk to me, talk to whoever's else in the lawsuit. And yes, by all means, use AI to do your research and your documents. I'm not paying you $800 an hour for something a machine can do. But I want you, the human, to synthesize and analyze everything that came out of the AI and direct me, the other human, with my problem. That's it. And in fact, with AI helping out, there should be more lawyers than ever, not fewer, more than ever.
Well, there's a shit ton of problems. So yeah, I think I think they're set. Yeah. Hey, if all else fails, by the way, you've got a smash room to have some fun in.
If all else,
I wanted to.
Yeah, I have a smash room.
Yeah, I listen. I can't not talk about that. I just want to before we wrap up. I wanted to know, like, okay, what was your idea about creating a smash room? And I mean, is AI driving you so crazy? What's the goal? Why did you start it? I just want to hear that part. The smash room.
Yeah, sure. So it's around 2021 or so. I wanted to get another revenue stream, and it was just purely looking for a revenue stream. I was looking at several different businesses to buy and all that kind of stuff. Around the time my daughter had a drug overdose, and she was in the ICU for 3 days. We almost lost her, and it was a really, really bad time in our lives. When she got out of the hospital and saw a few therapists, they suggested she try some healthy activities instead of drugs. And one of the activities I took her to was a smash room in Tempe, Arizona. She had an absolutely wonderful time smashing. She felt elated afterwards. I did it, and I felt a real cathartic release too. But the smash room we went to, I felt like it was dirty and the customer service wasn't so great. So I decided, instead of buying a business, I'm just going to open my own smash room. So I opened the smash room with my wife, and that was 4 years ago. And we are happy to say that we are the number one rage room in Arizona today, catering to a lot of corporate events. We get parties of 30, 40 people from Discount Tire, Uber, et cetera, coming down and doing parties.
Okay, so I see the upsell. By the way, you teach people AI at the Serpico AI Learning Center, and if they feel when they feel like they're miserable because AI is going to take over their job, or when it's not working and they want to throw away their laptop or hit their screen, you take them to the smash room and you make them feel alive again. I hear you, Vincent.
The smash room is AI free.
Oh, nice. Vincent, thank you very much for this talk. It's been a pleasure. There were a few things I wanted to have your thoughts on, whether it's the current world we're living in, the perspective of how people approach AI. I love the fact when you mentioned the word presentism. I think that's one I'm going to keep with me for a long time, because I think it's something that a lot of people just don't. Well, I like the word. B, because you don't hear it a lot. B, it's. I think it smacks you right in the face, and it just tells you, hey, listen, keep yourself centered on what we have right now. Try to adopt to what we can, and try not to predict the future too much, because it could change. And be present in the present, and prepare for what you can see right now, and don't predict too much. But also understand that what we have right now is susceptible to a massive amount of change, based on what what the tea leaves are saying essentially. So cuts both ways. That's my takeaway. I'm there's a lot, but I feel like that insight was to me the most impactful. Yeah.
Sean, this was a lot of fun. If you want to do it again on world models or video generation, happy to. Talk all day about this stuff.
We're thinking of doing live streams with sessions, and we're planning to do one with a previous guest on actually the AIO SEO type of stuff to audit things. Okay, cool. I think it could be very cool to maybe in the future do a webinar where we maybe build something live or show people how they can improve their life essentially with AI. I think that would be an amazing live thing to do.
Great idea,
we can do it there. Yeah,
count me in.
I'd love to do that.
Count me in. We'll do it.
Vincent, thank you very much. You've been an amazing guest. Let's.
You've been an amazing host. Thank you.
Thank you very much. What can I say? Vincent Serpico, Founders Workshop, the Serpico AI Learning Center, and obviously the Breakthrough Smash Room. If you just had enough, or you just want to relax, or you just want to feel alive. Vincent, thank you very much. Is there anything you would like to call out or shout out, or any place where people can find you?
You already did, Sean. I appreciate it very much. If you guys want to reach out to me, I'm super easy to find.
All right. So thank you very much, Vincent. It is the AI Learning Center.ai. Super simple. Or Google AI Learning Center and you're going to find it. Vincent, thank you very much. You've been a great, great guest. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.